This display, this 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, these so-called celebrations, and I use that word very, very, very guardedly, were appalling on pretty much every level, not the least of which the way they were covered in the West. And I'm pointing at, all sorts of outlets like CNN, or as we like to call it in my house, GNN, for their continued suck-uppery to the Chinese regime, acting like, oh, how wonderful is this? 100 years of the Chinese Communist Party. They've achieved so many great things, brought people out of poverty after putting them into poverty in the first place, but they don't talk about that half of the equation. Now, the fascinating thing to me about all of this, because I watch China very closely and I talk to a lot of China watchers, is that behind this veneer of all of these synchronized goose step marches and other, so-called celebrations and commemorations, and Xi Jinping's martial talk about this wall of steel or whatever it is that anybody who goes and dares to challenge is going to wind up smashing up against, well, this betrays an awful lot of weakness. A country that is confident in itself does not require that level of orchestration, regimentation, forced celebration, forced jollity. It's the 4th of July today, and I think back to, the 200th anniversary of the United States in 1976 and in 1989 with the revolution, that you did not have that sort of forced display. You had spontaneous display of celebration. It just goes to show, I think, that the Chinese people have been scared and cowed into marking this anniversary, which I think a lot of them secretly are very, very nervous about. And the fact is, too, when you look at how China is performing, yes, okay, fine, they're, taking over the South China Sea and crushing democracy in Hong Kong and all sorts of other things, but their real skill sets seem to actually be eluding them. It's a paper tiger. This Sinovac vaccine that was supposed to go and be their vaccine diplomacy, it's about 50% effective versus Western vaccines. You look at, there was a report the other day in the Financial Times which said that China's cyber warfare capabilities were far, 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 10, 20 years behind those in the West. China is actually, beneath this veneer of its wall of steel and everything, I think, frankly, guys, a paper tiger.
Rita, quickly, your thoughts on 100 years of China, communist China?
Well, they don't need to be as strong as they claim, James, because the West is destroying itself. And we've seen the West in the last 18 months follow China and follow their lockdown approach to tackling this virus, abandoning everything we've done during pandemics and the strategies we've used during pandemics, and follow blindly China's response and completely crippled our economies, our liberties, people's livelihoods. So you don't need China to be that strong when the West is defeating itself. And I think that's the real issue.